We were discussing chapter 2 library classes. Hope you went through the last video, and if you have doubts you may please refer to me through the mobile. And since I did not receive any messages from you, I hope everybody has understood everything completely fine. So I am very happy. Hope you are also happy. Okay. So I think you would have gone through the textbook and also the program which was discussed in the session. I have given you one online session of a program also. So those who forgot how you get into BlueJ, I think by this time you would have remembered all this. Okay. So now today we go with a new session on wrapper classes again, and here we are going to learn on how we learned last class what are wrapper classes, what are the different wrapper classes, and also we learned in detail about the wrapper class called character. Today we are going to learn on other usages of wrapper classes. So when we learned the functions of the wrapper class, we also learned that the main function is to convert string data type into primitive and vice versa. So today we are going to discuss on that particular topic, conversion from string into primitive data type. Okay, shall we go with the class? Now, so you're going to learn about conversion from string into primitive data type. Now, you know your string datas are always stored within double quotes. So let me give you an example. So I have string, say st. St is name of the variable which is contained in the string data type. I say I am storing a number but in the form of a string. So I am going to store st as 34. Now this is a string data type, and you know though it is a number, it takes a format of a string. So you cannot do any numerical operations like mathematical operations on this particular value 34. But in case you want to do something, what you have to do is you have to convert them into the primitive data type. So how will you convert it into the primitive data type? This is what you are going to learn through your wrapper classes. Now, so this value has to be converted into a primitive data type, and since it's only without a decimal value, I consider it as an int data type. So first let me declare a variable called int, say x. So this x is a variable of int data type which is going to store the value 34. So here I'll say int x is going to store what? I am going to convert this value 34 into its numeric data type. So which wrapper class will help you in converting an int value from the string into an int data type? The wrapper class is integer. We learned integer wrapper class goes with the int data type. So integer is the class dot, you have the function called parse int. I think long back I had told you when you have two words for a function, the second word first letter will be capital letter. Again I remind you, it is case sensitive. So integer, this is a wrapper class, dot parse int of, means parse int is a function which is converting your string value into int data type. Now, where have I stored the string data type? I have stored the string data type in st. So in this function, I will pass the variable st. Right? So now what will be stored in x is nothing but the number 34. So this value 34 can be used for all your mathematical functions, like if you want addition, subtraction, all that, you can make use of this value 34, which you cannot make use if it is in string data type. I hope it is clear. So to convert a string data type into an int form, int data type, then you will be using the function integer dot parse int. The function name is parse int, and you will be passing the data type. Suppose you are not stored this somewhere, you want to directly pass the value, In that case, you can pass it like this also. Now this statement is not there. I can say in double quotes 34. So what happens? This value 34 will be converted into int data type. Similarly, you can use one more function called integer dot value of. Value of is another function which converts your string data type into int data type. So here again you will be passing the value of st. So I have a variable called x. So int x is equivalent to integer dot value of st. So this is another function. ParseInt is a function of integer. Value of is also a function of integer class. Only the difference is this: value of function is available in your software of JDK 1.5 version and above. If in case at home you have installed a version of JDK 1.5 or lesser, then you cannot make use of this function called value of. If you have a BlueJ working with a version 1.5 and above, then this particular function will work out. Is that clear? So this is how you convert a string into an int. Similarly, I can convert string into a float data type. So in that case, suppose I have stored like this, 34.5. Okay, this is my string and I want to convert it into float. So what I'll do is, first I will declare a variable float and I will be using the wrapper class float. Float dot, instead of parseInt, I will be using parsefloat. So this parsefloat is a function of the wrapper class float which is used to convert a string data type into a float value. Same thing you can use with float dot value of. I hope it is clear. So we have learned how you convert an integer, how you convert a float. Similar thing goes with a long as well as with a double. If it is a double, how will you do it? You will have your long data type declared which contains the value of x. So I'll have long x and say float dot long dot parse long of, I will be passing this data type st. So now what has happened? You are making use of your wrapper class to convert the string data type into its long data type. Similarly, you can use it for double also. If it is a double, you will have, for example, 34.8632, for example. And here, what will you use? Okay, you will use, if I want to convert it into a double, yes, you will use double x. And your wrapper class will be double. Note, here it is capital D, whereas here it is small d, because here it is a data type, here it is a wrapper class, and here you will use parse double. So for you in your section A questions, they may give you this and they will ask you, what is the output stored in x? So if they give you these two statements and they ask you, what is the output stored in x? Your answer will be, x is storing the value 34.8632. You will not put the brackets, not quotes. You will be writing the number simply. And this value can be used for all your mathematical calculations. So this is how you convert string into its primitive data types. Example is given in your textbook. You can just have a look out of it after the online class. Next we go the reverse. What is the reverse? How will you convert a primitive data type into a string value? I want to convert the primitive data type into string. Very simple. For example, I have stored the variable int x is equivalent to 5. So this is a value 5 which is stored in the variable called x, which is of int data type. Now I want to convert it into a string data type. So that means how will it is? It is represented by double quotes. So it should be converted into this form. So how will you do this? For this, you will be making use of the function. Now, before going into it, since I have to convert it in store, I have to go and create another variable of string data type. So I will say string st is where you are going to store this value. So what will be stored here? I will say integer, that is the wrapper class, and you are using the function called toString. toString. What do you want to convert? The value which is stored in x. So I will be giving the value x. So what has happened? The value x, which contains the value 5, the variable x which is containing the value 5, will be converted into a string type, and it will be stored in the variable st, which is of string. Now what will st contain? St will contain 5. It is represented by double quotes. Now can we do any type of mathematical operations on this st or on this 5? No, you cannot, because it is a string data. I hope it is clear. Similarly, you can also convert a float. You can also convert a double. There also you will be making use of float to string, double to string. So it's very easy. You just remember the function called toString whenever you have to convert any primitive data type into string. And the wrapper class supporting will be like on to what you are going to convert. Okay. So this is the main function of conversion of string to primitive data type and primitive type back to string. This we discussed as one of the main functions when we are initially learning about the wrapper. Now we are going also to learn on, now all these statements which I wrote here on the board, that I shall show it on your BlueJ. Here I shall give you a session on how you write a program, how you store it, and also how you give the output for it will be shown to you through your online class itself. The next topic which we are going to learn is something called ASCII code. Now what is ASCII code? ASCII code we learned long back. What does ASCII stand for? American Standard Code for Information Interchange. So whenever we talk about ASCII, what does it represent? You know, your keyboard contains so many keys, and all these keys has got its own numeric values. We have already learned an ASCII code stores around 128 characters and 128 codes, and it starts from 0 to 127. Almost all the characters which we are using through our keyboard has got an equivalent numeric value. That numeric value is what we call it as the ASCII code. Now, there is a box in your textbook which says what are the ASCII codes for the numbers 0 to 9, for capital A to capital Z, and small a to small z. So this box which shows you the ASCII code, mark it as important, because if you know what is the ASCII code of capital A, then it is easy for you to know what is the ASCII code of capital B. Similarly, from small a to small z. For example, if I say for capital A, the ASCII code is 65. If I ask you what is the ASCII code of capital C, very easily you can find 65 for A, 66 for B, and 66 for C. So just you need not remember the whole box, but just remember what is the first ASCII code for capital A and what is the ASCII code for capital, small letter A. And one more thing I would like to tell you, whenever you are writing the ASCII code, if you know for capital A, you add 32 to it. When you add 32 to it, you will get the ASCII code of small letter a. For example, ASCII code of B is 98. What is the ASCII code of small b or small letter b is? You just add plus 32. After lockdown, even I forgot addition. Okay, fine. So now you are also getting, capital B is 66 plus 32, 8, 98. So you will be getting small letter b as 98. So you just remember either the small letter or the capital letter ASCII code, because we cannot be remembering all the 128 codes. It is not possible for anybody. So you just remember either capital A or small a. If you know small letters ASCII code, you subtract 32. If it is for capital letters, you add 32, because the same logic we will be using it in our programs. Suppose they will ask you, write a program to input a character from the user and display the alternate case of that particular letter. What is the question asking you? They are asking you to input a character from the user. Now, for example, I am giving the character called B. The program you are asked to do is, you have to display the opposite. If I have given it in smaller case, you have to display the uppercase. So you have to display capital B as the output. How is it possible? This is where your ASCII code conversion comes into use. So if you know what is the ASCII code of small b, as I said, you minus 32, you will get capital B. If the user is giving capital B, how will you find out what is the uppercase? You will add 32. So like this, small programs will come for you, or in section A, they will give you a code snippet. What do you mean by code snippet? A little bit statements, and they will ask you what is the output of that particular code snippet. So this portion mainly is coming for section A questions. So as I said, the box is very important. Either you have to know what is the value of capital A or small letter a. Either any one you keep in mind, which will help you for writing your programs. Now, how do we find this? So we told about the program, but how do we do it? So for that, we are going into one small program. Now, for example, I have a variable called x. Okay, and suppose x, I am having the value as say 67. I am having the value of x as 67. I want to know what is being represented by this 67. Which letter in the keyboard is representing 67? So how do we do this? So for that, first I want to know what is being stored as char. In that case, I need a variable to store this value. So first, next step will be, I declare the data type char followed by a variable. Why this? Because I want to store the character which is represented by this ASCII code. So char ch is equivalent to, now you will write char of x. Now what is this statement? I hope you remember long back in one of our classes we learned on the feature called typecasting. So I am not going in detail into it. Typecasting means external type conversion. We learned internal type conversion, external type conversion. Here the user is asking the value to be converted into another data type. So here what was my requirement? Some letter is being represented by 67. So I want to know which letter's ASCII code is 67. I hope you got the question. Now, so to know which character is represented by 67, I am going to declare a variable of char type. The variable is ch, and what am I going to do is, I am going to typecast. I am going to typecast whatever is the value of x into char. So here it is 67 will be converted into char. So if you remember the earlier box, you know the letter, capital letter C is represented by 67. So what will be stored in ch? In ch you will store the letter C. I hope it is clear. How do you store the value or the letter which is represented by ASCII code is using the typecasting of char. Now similarly, I can also give any character or any letter or any special character, any uppercase letter, lowercase letter, any number from the keyboard, and I can also find out what is its ASCII value. So how do I find out what is there? For example, I am asking you what is the ASCII value of small v. Maybe you don't know. Maybe I can write a small program to find out what is the ASCII value of small v. So how do we find out? Where is b stored? B will be stored in a char ch. Char ch is equivalent to b. What do I want? I want the number which is representing the code of b. Since it is a number, I need a data type. So can I give a data type called int n, a variable n which is of int type. What is this going to store? The ASCII code of small v. So I will say int n is equivalent to int of ch. So now what will happen? Whatever is there of b, that one's ASCII code will be converted, will be typecasted, and it will be stored in n. Now what will be the final value I get in n? So what is the ASCII code of small letter b? It is 98. So now n will contain the value 98. So this is how you convert, take the ASCII code of a character, or from the ASCII code you convert it back into a character. This also is part of your program, last part of your portion in your textbook. That is under the topic conversion from characters to ASCII code and vice versa. Then two more small definitions we have to know. The topic is called autoboxing and unboxing. So what is autoboxing and unboxing? So this is a very important definition which you have to know because it's part of your section A. Sure question from section A. So whenever I mean all this, please note it in your textbook. And as I said, have your textbooks open whenever you are sitting for your class. Because whatever I mention, you can underline it so that at least after many days, when you go through the book, you will think, okay, these portions were taught for you, at least like that, okay? Now, what is autoboxing? We are going to learn about the definition of what is autoboxing. It is automatic conversion of a primitive data type into its object. One of the functions of your wrapper class was converting from string to primitive data type and primitive data type back to string. Another function of your wrapper class was converted into its respective objects. So now, how do you convert? For example, I am going to convert a value. For example, I have int. For example, we go with the name 67. Int x is equivalent to 67. Now this is in the form of int data type, right? I want to convert it into an object. Object means which class will it refer to? It will refer to the class called integer because these two are interrelated. Wrapper class for int is integer. And for this there is an object. For example, say I have created an object called x1. This is an object. Now this x1 is going to hold the value of 67. That means the data type is being converted into an object. X is a data type which is getting converted into object called x1. How is it possible? So for that, first you will write which is the wrapper class you want, for whose object you want to create, and this is the object name. You can give any name for the object. Yeah? According to your choice, you can give any. So you will write the wrapper class followed by the object name is equivalent to, this is the syntax, new integer in bracket. You will specify the variable which contains the data type, or even directly you can give the value. Now what has happened? 67, which was as an int data type, has now been converted as an object called x1. So this object can be used in your higher level programming. We know, we learned these data types are very much of restricted use. So what did they do? We went for creation of another type of data type called non-primitive data type or composite data type. So now what I have done is I have created a non-primitive data type in the form of a class or an object which is going to store the value of an int data type. So this is called as auto-boxing. Auto-boxing means conversion of a primitive data type into its respective object through the wrapper class. You call it as auto-boxing. Okay? So the definition you will have to do. The next is unboxing. So auto-boxing means conversion from primitive to its respective wrapper object. When I say unboxing, just the reverse. Means conversion from an object of the wrapper class back into an data type. Now, so now I will write integer x1 is equivalent to new integer, say 75. So what does this mean? This object x1 has got the value 75. That means x1 is an object of the wrapper class called integer. Now what I want to do is, I want to convert this object into an int data type. So I will say integer x1 is equivalent to new integer 75. And now I want to store the data, so I will say int x is equivalent to x1. So what has happened? Now x1 is storing 75 as its object value. This 75 is getting converted into a data type of variable x, which is of int data type. How do you give the value? I am just saying int x is equivalent to x1. What is x1 here? x1 is nothing but the object. What is it containing? It is containing the value 75. So by these two steps, what I have done is, I have converted the value which is in the form of an object into a variable which is in the form of an integer. Okay? So this was the reverse. From a primitive data type, you converted into an object. Here, from an object, you are converting into a primitive data type. This could be done with all your wrapper classes. This, you call it as auto-boxing, and this, you call it as unboxing. Okay? So these are the definitions which you will have to know when you are learning for your section 8. And I think with this chapter has been completed. You have certain review inside questions. In your review inside questions, both question as well as answer is there. You may please go through. If you have any doubts, you please let me know what are your doubts. Then, continuing with this class, we will be going with the online demo of your solved questions. Clear? And your unsolved questions, I shall give you homeworks there and there. You will try to give the coding for your unsolved questions. Along with that, I will also be giving you the logic for the exercise portion. Okay? So with this, I hope you have understood the second chapter. In case any doubts, do let me know. Okay? Thank you. Have a nice day. Please go through your books. We will meet in the next class. Thank you.